Hello and welcome to another episode of the Selfish Podcast. Today's guest is Austin, who I know very little about, so I'm excited to hear his story, his life, and his journey, and get to know him more personally. So welcome, Austin. Can you just share with myself and the audience, whereabouts in the world are you, and what time of day is it for you?
Hello, Luke. Thanks for inviting me to your podcast. Currently, it is 12:11 p.m. in sunny, which is a strange occurrence, Dorking in Surrey, the United Kingdom. So an hour on the train, 55 minutes from Waterloo, southwestward. A little bit west, but mostly south.
Yeah, nice. And most of the audience already know that I'm in the south of Spain, but I'm actually from, I think it's maybe even 20 minutes from Dorking to Gatwick, where my hometown was. It's like really close. So you're the closest guest I've ever had to my hometown.
I'm honored to be.
Yeah, and I met you through one of the past guests, Wilson Melancholy. So if anyone hasn't heard his, go check it out. But yeah, I met you through there. So that's how we got you on here. And I'm interested just where you are in your life and what's going on and what you do and everything that's up to this point. But first, I'd love to hear about your childhood. Did you grow up in England? Like, can you paint me a picture of what life was like pre 10 years old?
Yes. I didn't grow up in Dorking, and my accent probably shows that. I would be sounding quite different. But I grew up in a city called Buenos Aires in Argentina, right? And, well, the childhood was different to an average, if we can think of something of an average, because I came into this world and one of the creators wasn't there. By that I mean my father. He had left. He knew what was coming, so he left before I was born. So my mother had me on her own. She had her parents, of course, but they died a couple of years after. So she was quite alone. She had a brother. And, well, during the first 10 years, the first memory is me sort of throwing away my pacifier when I was 2. It was a TV show at the time that they would sort of have this sort of pacifier meter, let's say, a big, huge cube in the middle of the studio. And they would encourage little boys and girls to send their pacifiers.
Interesting.
Oh, would mine be there in that sort of gigantic pile of pacifiers? So I remember I was 2 and I dropped it. Please send it to this show. Right? That's the first memory I have. And, sort of average Catholic upbringing, the right amount of guilt and weight of the original sin on me, going to church, confessing, trying to come up with things worthy of confession, seeing once every blue moon, I would say, and blue moons don't happen often, right? As the saying goes. So, but when I was 9, my mother had kind of not remarried because they legal in Argentina still. So she had to wait, but she had a partner who lived with us. So I had a kind of a second-hand father figure as well, and my mother was hell-bent on trying to have another family, a true family, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. The detail here is because my mother, the first time she married a man, my father, he was gay. She didn't know then, but kind of she was used to have a kid, so he could show probably that he wasn't gay to the society of the time, right? Because back then, if you had a kid or 2 or 4, you were not gay, surely, right? you were showing, hey, I did my job. I had sex at least once with a woman, so I can do whatever I want on the side, and society will not judge me. And well, then my mother went on to have 2 more kids. I consider them my full siblings. I don't like the concept of half anything, right? Yes. They are my siblings. nine and 12 years younger than me. And nothing kind of in those first 10 years, nothing dramatic besides trying to cope with the fact that I wasn't wanted by one half of the God pair creators, right? And that leaves a mark in a child. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's a thing. I have friends who are adopted, and I see that as well. It's a challenge in itself.
What was your school life like? And was you from like a rural town or a city?
Now, suburbs, like imagine, I mean, you are from the UK, imagine like not as fancy as Wimbledon, but like that kind of suburbs, right? Not far from the city, but just playing lots of football outside, growing up, and just going to this Catholic school with like subjects in the morning in Spanish and then full English in the afternoon. So like middle-aged, my mother worked all day, she was a lawyer, so middle-aged, middle-class Catholic upbringing, let's say.
Okay. Yeah, no, it sounds, like you said like sort of average, but not average. Sounds quite fascinating to me. What would you say, if you remember, was your sort of first like ambition or desire or dream, something you like wanted to do, be, or become? Do you remember your first one?
Back then, probably the first memory I have is of becoming like a physicist or something around mathematics, you know. But in retrospective, I think that I was curious about things, right? But I would add, with the air quotes, maturity I have now, that there might have been like an importance factor, or that I thought that it was worthy of praise or something along those lines. But I was interested. I mean, I was reading books about physics, you know, and all that jazz, even for kids, right? I wasn't reading Stephen Hawking style, but just science for kids, let's say, more than that math, for which I was quick and good. I mean, I had that knack for physics and maths. But yeah, that's the first memory, I would say.
Oh, nice. On this one, what comes to mind first? Not necessarily what was first in order, but what comes to mind first when I say what's an early struggle in your life?
Well, the first struggle is like, I can verbalize it now, right? But probably is, okay, I have a mother, but where's the father, right? Not that she hid from me the truth, right? She never sugarcoated anything. But yeah, I think that the main struggle for a kid is to understand that it's not his fault that someone is not there, right? It's not that you're faulty or you behaved badly. It's just someone else's problem that happens to affect you big time. So I would say the main struggle was that, and someone who was very absent. And I'll paint a picture quickly in a few words. The first memory I have of my father is like a huge box of Playmobil, the castle. I wake up, I think, back then my mother had someone in Argentina, right? This is not common in the UK. If you say you have like a maid, you're rich. There in Argentina, and again, air quotes, third world countries, if you're like middle class and just veering towards like the upper, not necessarily very much upper, having a maid was not then a huge luxury. I mean, you could have someone helping, especially if you are a full-time working mother, professional one at that. So I wake up, and I don't know if it was around my birthday, but I wake up and I see this huge Playmobil castle on the floor as a gift. And the maid tells me, no, yes, someone who said was your father left this for you. So that's the first memory I have. And I think I was turning 4 then. But the struggle basically is what I told you before, and being told, okay, I'm going to pick you up on Saturday midday to have lunch. And out of 10 times, that would happen just once, right? Just being led. And just, for a kid, I think that's the biggest struggle I had.
Yeah.
probably.
Did you find in them times, especially say the times when you was feeling it the most, did you ever find any activity or process or something that actually helped you in that time or brought you a sense of balance?
Um, Probably. Well, we had a dog. Our first dog was a Sherman Shepherd called Polly. Not polyamorous. I mean Polly because in back then and in Argentina, like German Shepherds were called like police dogs, right?
Mm.
And Polly is like the short for police. And well, that's why she was named Polly. And she was great. She was amazing company. And I would play with friends. I would play alone with my toys. Kick a football, of course, because that's what an Argentine kid would do. And I was very close with cousins. My mother's brother has three kids, cousins, and I was quite close to the youngest of them. He was my age, so again, that was like what brought me a kind of sense of family in a way. Therefore, some kind of consolation, if you will, or
Yeah.
acceptance, right? Like a group of people who are family.
Yeah, and like what you're saying with the when you're young, it often happens with people that have been through divorce, where, like you said, the child thinks that in some way they could have either prevented it or they caused it.
Yeah,
So having
absolutely.
that other family stability of acceptance will be crucial,
Yeah.
to give you that. Have you found now that you're older and you've been through more experiences in life? Have you found some form of value that that unique experience has given you in your life to have that upbringing without a father being there from the beginning? And has it given you a
Well,
perspective?
yeah, getting to know him afterwards. One thought could be, well, thank God he wasn't around because he's very difficult to be with. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't a role model in that
Yeah.
regard. This many thoughts like, well, one of the things that gave me was kind of a sense of empathy and understanding of others' needs as well. So he being a narcissist, naturally, in the back of my mind, the thought started to form back then, even like, I don't want to be like him, right? So
Mhm.
you tend to go to the opposite end of that spectrum, which is, okay, a hyper narcissist. What's the opposite? Well, someone who perhaps gives of himself too much, right? You end up giving away too much of your own process of giving, right?
Mm.
That equation, like the fact that, oh, I'm not worthy, so I have to work extra hard to earn anyone's attention or affection or love, whatever you want to call that. So, but yeah, after when you grow up, you get into more introspection. Well, it wouldn't change a thing because it made me into who I am and gave me some good challenges. Of course, those terms are relative, right? Because I learned not to compare your history with anyone else's because your suffering is absolute in yours, right? You cannot compare suffering because, okay, this is my suffering. I know people have been abandoned on the street and they grew up with dogs and whatnot, right? But that's not my life. This is my life, right? And within the sort of the threshold of experiences I've had, this feels quite bad. And say, okay, that was in my history, that's bad, right? That feels rough. But
Yeah.
then you grow, you just become a responsible human being in a way, and you say, okay, what can I do with what happened to me? What how can I blend these elements or ingredients to cook the best meal possible so I can eat it and nurture myself, right? And that's the challenge I think we have to step up to as adults. Just to, okay, what happened, and just process, recycle, digest, throw away what isn't useful, and then, yeah, grow. right?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's like a path that I went through in my life. I don't, because I don't think you've seen any of my content and stuff, but I share a lot of my life and childhood growing up. And I had a odd beginning start. My mum had severe schizophrenia, and my dad was about, but he ended up becoming a weekend parent. And my mum during the week was like the worst end of schizophrenia possible. And I've been to, I don't know how many, don't even know what the correct term is anymore because they keep changing things, but psychiatric ward, mental asylum, whatever it is. I've been to so many of them in my life, and she could spend years in them. But she was really extreme. So that sent me from a young age, like, to really question things. Like, I made comparisons, trying to understand other people's parents and mothers and look at life in a really different way. But for years, it caused me so much suffering, so much pain.
I can imagine.
And I'd spend I had suicidal issues from the age of 7, and all this depression and thoughts where life was just too painful. And it wasn't until not even that long ago, like in terms of life scale, like 5, 6, 7 years ago, where I started to go through a process where I realized, like, I can't waste any more time and waste my imagination. What's so important on would have or could have or should have. So I was like, this is what it is. What can I take from it? What's the opportunity given in this scenario? What's the value here? What's the worth here? And after a little bit of time and practice, that shifted. And I see my mum as my greatest gift I ever had. She's passed now. She passed quite recently. And I was blessed to have had her as a mother. For all the bizarre and beautiful experiences I got that used to be my trauma and chaos, gave me something. And like you said, that's equal to someone that might have just, their biggest trauma might be they just banged their heads once, and that's the biggest thing that's ever happened in their life. That's equal to them, to their experience and their pain and suffering. So I love that you put that in yours, like, for people not to compare to others' suffering. Yours can be really bad even if it's small, or it can be really bad even if it's something big. Like, that judgment and that levels can really distract you from that process of actually finding your usefulness in life.
Yeah, and also comparison destroys the present. I mean, it just trumps everything. You travel far away to sort of you imagine distant lands, but comparing is almost always wrong, because it just pulls you away from what's happening now, and just what happened to you, which is the thing that had to happen to you, and there's no point in even going down like the what ifs, right? Now, that's what happened.
Yeah, it's changing that, like, what if, and so, like, what can I take from this? What can I gain? If I'm going to time travel back into my life, I might as well make that of use. If I'm going to waste imagination, I won't waste it and make it useful. And you get a choice and use imagination to rewire a story to an event and look for opportunity.
Yeah,
how you can use that in the present.
And also, sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
I and also, like you say, how can I use this, right? How can I make it a point of support or a trigger thought or whatever to move forward? You're essentially time traveling to the back. You are changing the past by improving your present, right? Yeah. Because if you are bound to that past and you're not moving forward, or at least trying, then even if you had that sort of fictional time travel machine, well, you're not changing the essence of who you are. I mean, you end up in the same miserable the past, because you're not doing your own job. So if you, anyone who's listening, right, you're changing the past by improving your present self.
Yeah, no, definitely. And what it also drove me to, when I, like, in my process that I didn't realize was happening, is instead of living in the past, I tried to sort of block that out and no longer feel or look at that suffering. And I just fueled myself with the ambitions. But then I realized I was living in the future, and I didn't realize, like, I accepted suffering in the moment because I was like, one day everything will be fixed. Chasing that future, like such a long vision of this future, and I had to break that pattern to make myself more present, have ambition, but bring myself into the actual moment that I'm alive in.
Yeah,
that you can feel good then, no matter what.
Nothing else exists. I mean,
No.
I know this has been said and written about, but there's nothing else than whatever's happening now and where your attention is, right?
Mm-hmm.
The attention is like a squirrel that it's hard to control, but if you exercise it, it will be your friend.
Yeah, and like I said, the power of your intention, and it will be distracted by your attention. So if your attention, there's things everywhere in the external are going to pull your attention and take away from your intention. But the intention's at the core for me. I think that's what we are. That's our number one tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you're later in your life, and what are you doing with your life? So what do you do now? Like, do you work? Do you perform any service? Like, what's your favorite thing to do, and what do you do?
Well, it could be the end of my life. I mean, I could die in the next 5 minutes, right? That's
well, wait till the end of the show, please. Oh, a half episode.
It could be a great episode if your guest died, like in. No, but I won't force that. I promise. Well, what do I do? I like your question because you're not asking like what am I, right? Because people identify themselves with what they do. Well, I'm not what I do. I'm not a writer or a translator. I do things like I translate, I edit, I write copy, I write books, I write scripts, I make comedy on a couple of YouTube channels. It's one of my alter egos, of course. The books as well are written by my first alter ego, actually. And I am kind of exploring the new avenues of freelancing, of being absolutely trusting of what's happening now and the jobs I'm finding or finding me, because sometimes that's what happens. Yet you have to be there, right? You have to be willing and just searching for things to find you as well. Open to the possibility, right? So technically that's what I do on a material sense, right? Or professional, if you will. Translation, writing, editing, all with words. And the comedy, of course, which is, I'm sure, like, because you have a green heart, which that in itself is a beautiful name. My service, I'm not a man of service like Mother Teresa, right? If you can think of her as a woman of service or any other champion of causes, but I do love to make people laugh. I think of the soul, a sexual one, of course, because okay, you can make a girl laugh and that bring you closer to bed, but my goal is I love to make people laugh and think. So
okay,
that could be a mission statement.
To laugh and think, and it's interesting because with comedy, it's like if it's comedy that they say like the gestures of the old sort of kings and queens style, were the ones that could bring the truths to the table that no one else could say.
Yeah, without getting killed, right?
Yeah, and if the king can't take it, he's in the wrong. So if they can't handle the joke, then they're not good structure. And like comedy is a very powerful tool when used correctly. So where can I, because I'm curious now to check, I love comedy, and where can I check your YouTube channel?
Well, I'll tell you now, but it's easier. I'll send you links as well. But there's a story to that, right? I mean, there's a lot to my life. Let's not go like Joe Rogan, 3 hours, full blast. But it's like, I had a dream, right? It didn't work out. It had to do with music, opera, singing, many reasons that didn't happen. So I had to readapt and work with what life was throwing at me. So the written word became like the main avenue for expressing myself. I had an alter ego that was within me since probably I was 8 or 10 years old, right? someone, a friend of my cousin, told me, he was quite older than me, but it was summer. I get quite dark when the sun hits me, and he said, "You are," and he literally said, "Abu Qasim, the greedy perfumer." And I remembered since, because that was so weird that like a posh kid from a fancy family would tell me something like that, and just bringing up like this Arabic name, and so I just, that stuck with me. That is that's the master, right? That's the owner of the workshop of the where the alchemy happens. Then through some writing, a secondary character appeared, which is the host of the YouTube channel. His name is Radamés da Silva, which is kind of a weird name, and he's from Uruguay, right? Just our neighbors from Argentina. Uruguay is like a stone's throw from where I live.
See, I know the name of it, but I can tell you nothing about it.
It's a beautiful little country, like in the shores of the Rio de la Plata and the Atlantic Ocean. But this guy came to life, and I started this YouTube channel. The warning is his humor is edgy. He doesn't care about any kind of political correctness, and there's a warning whenever you go to the channel, both in Spanish and English. They are separate, of course, but it's like, if you're not willing to laugh at your own beliefs and just ideology, etc., this is not the place for you. And if you want to stay, you will be pissed off, right? Because my goal there was to exercise freedom, right? Absolute freedom. Which doesn't mean like I'm going to shove my thoughts through your throat, down your throat, right? But if you stay, you're accepting the risk of just being shocked. I think that's a good compromise. Yeah. So he's called The Perfumer's Apprentice, and RDS, Radamés da Silva, The Perfumer's Apprentice. And of course, I don't get a lot of hits and views. Some do, but there's a lot of profanity, and doesn't help with the YouTube algorithm naturally.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a therapeutic process, right? I made a pact with myself. It's like, okay, I have an idea, let's make it happen. No matter how silly, don't judge it, make it happen. So there's a trigger thought for a video, I shoot it, and I upload it.
Yeah, basically. No, I think it's very important to have that to express yourself, and to let them things out. Yeah, so what I'm curious about with your YouTube channel, and I think it's great that you're expressing yourself, and I think that freedom to just say what you want when you're not coming from a place to deliberately harm or aggravate or stress someone out. You're actually just trying to say, like you said, it's about freedom, a sense of freedom for yourself to communicate. I want to know, like, when did you think to start this process, and when did you actually go, right, I'm putting my first video out?
Well, before I answer your question, being alive means you're going to hurt someone, or you're going to kill. Even when we breathe, we kill germs. We cannot not be alive and create, air quotes, going to happen. That's going to happen. So there's from my point of view, there's no point in trying not to offend someone because of what you say or think, correct? Because mostly I'm not trying to impose my thoughts on anyone. Also, and let's add to this statement that we live in a society and in times that people are overly sensitive. Right? It's overly sensitive. I read the other day that calling someone bald is sexual harassment, right? Which for me is funny. I can only laugh at that, because not only I'm getting bald, but if you call me bald, you're just stating something that's true, right? So, and I'm not thinking you want to have sex with me because you're calling me bald, or I'm not feeling sexually aggravated because of that. But okay, that can lead to a different conversation. But back to your question. Sorry, Luke. I think the first video was in I'll have to check, but 2019 or so. And like I said before, it's therapeutic, and it creates that space where real creativity can happen, even if you don't like it funny. Creativity needs freedom, right? Otherwise, you're too worried about, oh, what if I say this? You're always going to offend someone, right? So the main blast for me was, we come from a society, and I was, like I said before, I was raised in the Catholic religion where kids are not circumcised, right?
Mm.
And of course, other religions, they circumcise the kids, and I always thought that was very strange, especially the United States, that makes like this practice almost compulsory, even if it's not for religious.
Yeah.
Correct. And then I said, "There's something there," and I went down a rabbit hole. I read, I investigated. So I know I'm going beyond your question. I'm sorry, Luke, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah, I think it started in 2019, and that's when I was already writing. I was already working on what became the first book, or the archive as well, because I have a lot of stuff I need to edit. But I said, okay, this brings me joy. The thing is, this thinking about this brings me joy. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try a hat, a fake beard. Let's see, because that helps you get more relaxed, less exposed, and you create this persona, right? That can say things that you might not feel as comfortable saying. And and joy it brought, definitely. Now more than 100 videos after, I will keep going just for the sake of it, right?
So this is, like you said, an alter ego, and you've got even, you get into full character, say, when you're doing the performance. So is this something you only share to, say, your digital family, or is this something you actually share to your friends and family in real life? Do you tell them? Do they know about this side of you and what you share online? Or do you cater it to specific ones that you know are going to take it on board?
Well, they know. It's not that if you know me, it's easy to understand, oh, this is the same guy, right? It's not like I'm doing like a full-blown character with a different voice or tweaking my voice digitally. No, it's me with a cheap fake beard and a hat, right? I just put it out there. I wish people understood. I can share this with you. I wish people understood the value it would have if just they would take 2 or 3 minutes of their life to just check it. I mean, friends of mine, right, or family, and they don't. They don't have that creator mindset. They don't understand what we put into things we create. And it would just take literally 2 or 3 minutes to watch something, press like. No, don't tell me anything about it. Don't praise me, but just let me know that you watch what I put out there. Because I do that with my friends who are creators, right? It's the least you can do, I think, as a friend or as a brother or sister, to support the creators. And I'm not talking about money. I'm just talking. You can leave the video playing in the background if you are so busy you can listen to the folly.
Yeah, you got Wi-Fi and you got full internet and everything, and it's like you're already on your computer. Just put it on mute and play it in the background.
Exactly.
Help build up the algorithm. Hit the like button, comment, and I've been through that exact experience, and I no longer hold any expectations to my friends and family. Like, I've been doing it for a few years now, and they just don't tune it in. What gets my curiosity is, like you said, I don't want the admiration. I don't want you to turn around and say, well done, great job. I don't mind if I get criticism or not criticism. I'm just curious. Like, if I knew someone that was doing something, I'm curious to know what they're doing, at least why they're doing it.
Absolutely. But
so like, whether it's like a friend that's an acquaintance I meet and they're going, oh, I've just like started a YouTube channel. I'll be like, oh, what's the name? Let's check it out. Oh, I've started a podcast. I'm like, oh, what's it about? I would ask a question. But what I've noticed is people won't even ask you a question about it. There's just no like yeah, it's just a very interesting process.
It is as if you had become that character and they had no connection with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
that's what happens with people who are not creators.
yeah. And what's like you said you're an author as well, and you've got I think you said it sounded like multiple books. What are the books? And you said it's another alter ego. So what place is the books coming from? Is it in the same concept of freedom, say, and communication, or is it totally different? Is it humorous? What's your genre and sort of
Well,
book world?
the key question is the genre. I have to make it up because it is like a kind of mystical humor, or with some delirious hyper realism. But the common thread is humor, of course, and both types stem from the same human being, which is this chap. But yeah, let's say like the writing process. So you could find 4 books, 2 in each language, right? Opus Magnum 1 and 2. And if I'm alive in the next years, there will be 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But that is more, it's a convoluted style of writing, and there is humor, of course. That's the thing that is omnipresent. But the style and the delivery is very much a way of tickling the brain and making silly things sound very important and deep. So in a way, it's like a big, I don't know if I can curse, but it's a big middle finger to like the whole worshipping of the intellect,
Yeah.
and the sort of erudites from Oxford and all those circles. So basically, I just play around that with very silly things, but present them in a way that you're not sure if I'm being serious or not. Of course, I'm not. But nonetheless, I drop there some wisdom, if you will, or serious stuff that's surrounded by a lot of silly things.
Okay.
But if you're searching, you will see, oh, there's something there, right? I mean, he's talking about Pinocchio or the Smurfs or something silly, but there's something deeper going on. So if you're interested in that, you'll pick it up.
Okay, and if someone's interested, or if I want to go check out, where's the best place to find it?
Again, I'll send you the link, but the best place is my website, or the Greedy Perfumer's website, which is abukasem.com, A-B from Brian, UKASEM.com. So that's a little hub where you can find all the, and just basically some writing, some reflections. Because I started out as this Opus Magnum series, right? Opus Magnum 1, 2, and there were short reflections and long short tales in between. So you would read a short tale, a reflection, short. And then I decided I'm going to split things. So I'm going to publish the aphorisms, right, in a series of books, and then the short stories in a separate way. So now the Opus Magnum 3 is going to be just the short stories, aka funny, delirious, mystical ones. And then the aphorisms are being released like next week or so as a separate series.
Okay. What came first, your YouTube channel or your book?
Now the book, the Greedy Perfumer, is the main chap in that sort of partnership, and The Apprentice came to life through a short story that's in the first book. I wrote about him, and then I said, okay, let's bring him out of the page and into YouTube and the interweb space. Does it make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's nice. It's It's funny. There's like you said, the power of having I've noticed on YouTube, like even on people's profiles, it's the only sort of social media where people have these, they don't put their real name, they have a different picture that's not them in the profile, and they sort of have these different, like you said, alter egos, like whether they're a keyboard warrior or they're just there to support people, like they're all got a different identity. And I've seen that seems to be the most common on YouTube of all the platforms I've been on, where but I think there's a power in that, like a freedom within that to break off the shackles that you've conformed on yourself through the identity of yourself.
Well put. I couldn't have said it better. Exactly. And but in this case, it happened organically, and of course, the Instagram is as well managed by the apprentice. And well, yeah, we're getting guidance from a mutual friend, if you will, Wilson. So and as you have suffered him as well, he's pushing us into new directions and just helping us get out there more openly and with less shame.
Yeah, and just like say flowing with it, as he's called, the flow coach, and getting yourself into that state of optimum production. Do you turn up as different characters? I'm interested in your private one-to-one meetings, or do you just turn up as your original self?
No, unless I'm requested or one of them is requested. No, let's go with the bedrock, with the original God, let's say. Yeah. Because it's easy to step in and out of the others. Or, well, actually, it's a good question. The Greedy Perfumer, Agustin, he will never be known. I mean, he only communicates through his writing. That's why the apprentice is a good salesman. He has no shame, and he's willing to kick doors to just talk about his and his master's work, right? So that's how I've been shaping.
Oh, nice.
Setter as the guy who knocks on your door and annoys the hell out of you, trying to sell something you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah, like I remember when I was younger, the people that knock, and it was for some reason it was always Hoovers, and for Americans, vacuum cleaners, and they knock on your door and throw a load of powder over the floor. I remember it as a kid because I thought it was quite interesting when you're a kid. But someone comes in your house, throws a load of what looks like flour, white powder all over your floor, and then hoovers it up, and your parents watch and they never buy it, and it's like it was a really bizarre experience. So like that, it's just one of them.
So that happened to you in Gatwick.
Yeah.
Would they clean it up afterwards?
Yeah, the Hoover would have done a good job from my memory. Like you see this, because you're a kid and you're not allowed to make a mess. And then someone's just come around your house and your parents are talking to them. And I just remember watching them, like I was very young. And I must have been very young because I'm thinking about this now. And I remember which house it was in. And this is before my mum and dad split. So I must have been 5 or under. And I just remember this white powder being thrown on the floor in a pile. And then this Hoover perfectly picking it up and making it look super clean. And it always
probably you're thinking, I hope they get this so I can make
more mess. Yeah. No, I remember that. And so you've been doing that process. Did you find, because I'm interested now with because you started that in 2019 and what's been going on for the last 2 years for everyone. When did that start? So would it be 2020? So you would have already been into this process. I want to know, how's life been for you internally, externally, with everything going on in the world? And did you find having that persona, that expression ability that you built, that was actually a really useful tool with everything going on?
It's like a safe haven or a personal paradise, especially now things are normal or as much as it can be, but it was challenging because, well, for a myriad of reasons, but I despised, I still do, right? This is a personal statement. I despised the concept of lockdown and locking people up. Unfortunately, that happened first in Italy, which is where part of my family comes from, and that normalized a behavior that I think should have never be part of our lives for so long. I was to Spain, Italy, and other countries where things were quite tougher than of living 5 minutes from hills. So no one was going to stop me from leaving my house and just getting lost in the woods, right?
Yeah.
Nonetheless, for a while, it did affect me because there's this oppression in the air. You can feel it. You feel like, just like you can feel it's Sunday. I believe some days have energies, right? And in the same way, you could feel like the anxiety and fear in the air. Also being cut off from my family, which is mostly back in Argentina, and just that sense of oppression, that how could others have so much power on my freedom of movement, right?
Mm.
So it was challenging in that regard. So we just use the tools that we have available, and one of those, like you well said, was creating things, and especially not focusing on making videos about what was happening, because I want to, freedom for me means, okay, I want to talk about whatever I feel like, not, oh, let's talk about this virus, the vaccines, no, that's what everyone else is doing, right? And I'm tired of seeing content about that. So I'm going to talk about whatever I feel, X-Men, or why aliens haven't visited us yet, or all triggers for my brand of humor.
Mm.
So that became like an island for me, a good way of isolating the folly that was happening all around us, in a way. Not to minimize what happened, right? But yeah, it's a very tricky precedent.
Yeah, and very much like what
mind.
we said right at the beginning when we were saying about, like, instead of looking at how something could have been, would have been, should have been, you take what you can and make an opportunity to do something that you feel is productive, that you feel adds some value or some worth to it. Because it's clear that there's a lot of chaos going on. It's clear that there's a lot of suffering and pain. So adding more of that, isn't going to be constructive. It doesn't validate it. It doesn't make it more. It doesn't make it fix. Basically, it doesn't change things by adding more drama to drama.
Absolutely. Otherwise you're feeding that sort of pendulum that needs our energy to keep going. Right?
Yeah.
So if you focus, like you just said, if you focus on what matters, and that I kind of choose what matters to you, right? But what truly matters, and I know we agree on this, is us, right? Okay, where are you? Is your eye looking inward, or are you always judging and thinking about what others are doing? Yeah, the choice is quite simple, anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes, like you said, it just takes a little bit of reflection. And I think for a lot, and from what I've noticed from pretty much all my guests, most of them have gained either the insight to actually look within, or they've had the ability to notice that there is that ability in the first place. But for the most part, they found opportunity in it. And they've been able to find from the opportunity a sense of satisfaction and balance, that time wasn't wasted.
Yeah, that's a great finding, actually. Yes, I'm happy for those who did realize there's an inner world taking place.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, they're still stuck in the external and trying to control. And like I shared with you, with my younger life, my main drive was to control my external world, because it was so out of balance and so bizarre that made me extremely want to fix every problem I saw, and like you said, become very overgiving in making sure that everything else is getting some form of satisfaction other than myself, trying to bring balance constantly external. And it wasn't until
and it makes sense. I mean, I could talk to that kid and say, I understand why you feel it.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until I went, like, it wasn't until life didn't come, all my expectations didn't get met, and everything fell apart even worse than it was when I was a child. And then it was like, okay, there's something else I've got to do here. And like I shared with you, I had my last suicidal episode. It was in like 2015. I was going to jump off a bridge, and I came right to the last second. and something within me hit me and was like, or something externally hit me, whichever way it was, I was hit. And that force was like, I will find a way to find joy, to find love within, despite any external issue. It's like, I'm no longer, I relinquished control for the external world, and I'm going to find a way within no matter what happens. And that path's what I went on. And like through that journey, everything changed. So now it's like, it's all about that internal first, working on your mind, your body, and yourself.
I lost you for a second, Luke, sorry.
Oh, so where did you lose?
Like something stopped you, something external as well, probably from jumping, and that you realized that you could find that within yourself.
Yeah, so in the last moment before I was about to jump over, like I got to I was standing on the edge of, you will know the road, the M23, yeah, the main motorway going down to Brighton from London. And it's like 6 lanes of busy traffic. And I was standing on the bridge there, and I was going to jump into all the traffic and make a big bang. I thought that's a way to go out. And I didn't plan. I didn't walk there to go and do it. I was walking, and as I was crossing the bridge, stuff in life was too painful at that time to keep it as brief. I just got my mum back from getting her stomach pumped from another suicide attempt. And it was like, at that point, it was like the 5th time that year already within a few months. And my girlfriend at the time, who had a cardiac arrest, and I'd become her full-time carer as well. And I was told she was going to die within a really short amount of time. And I was traveling from my mum's to now my new loves, and like the foreseeable future was grim at best. And I was like, my whole life's been that way. And I was like, I just can't take this anymore. This is too much. And when that really hit me as I was walking across the bridge, and I could just see all these cars flying past, and I thought, not only could this just maybe end everything, I was like, I'm going to make a real mess too. You know, this is going to mess up a lot of people's lives. And I was like, why not? Like, I was just not in a good place. And then something just hit me. It's like, nah, like it's like I call it like a fighting spirit. Something hit me where it's just like, you know what? You're going to not only persevere, you're going to find something beautiful, and you're going to love your life and find a love within and a balance within. Even if your mum dies tomorrow, even if your love Danielle dies tomorrow, even if they don't, and you just end up caring for them and they suffer for the next 20 years, it doesn't matter. It no longer matters. That control, you're relinquishing that control. And it's all about an internal journey you're going on now. And then that was the journey I went on, and it wasn't instant. It had its ups and downs. But yeah, but now the consistency's there, and it's like, it's a world of difference to relinquish that external control, but to be of influence. Like, you're a creator, you're putting out stuff to influence, not to control. Like you said, you don't want to control. You're not trying to force your opinion down someone's throat. You're trying to contribute some sort of influence to their life that will bring some sort of value or something to them, whether it's a laugh, a smile, a distraction from something that might be really going on in their life. You know, so it's a valuable service to be trying to influence.
Yeah, but I said something that got lost before when I lost you for a second. Is that you had like an epiphany there, which is, and it summarizes a great friend told me once. It's like, it's really silly to go out looking for stuff from others that you're not finding within yourself. So it's true. Why? And I've told myself this a lot of times. Why do I expect or want someone to love me if I'm not loving myself? Right? What? I mean, it's very tough to love oneself. It is not easy. It's a daily task for me. But I think without that, the rest kind of, I mean, it might look fine from the outside, but you're just missing something. I'm not you. We as
no, I can really
beings.
resonate with that. That was a big part of my journey. But it was one of them as well. It's like you said, your friend told you that. I didn't know I didn't love myself. You know, it wasn't even a question. It wasn't something that ever floated in until at a certain point it did. and I was shocked. I was like, oh my God.
I know. And I can only imagine the turmoil you were going through, correct? But any kind of behavior that is not positive and let's focus on the most concrete things we have, like our body, right? Our body is something concrete. It is objective. Anything that doesn't help your body is not. So, okay, we go to that extreme example of being at the edge of a bridge, thinking about jumping. Of course, that's a big red flag, right? Or any self-harm in any shape or form. It could be overeating. It could be anything, right? Any coping mechanism. It is not that close to you loving yourself, right? Whatever is not nourishing us is not helping, basically. I mean, that's a blunt statement we can read together, right? And being honest about my content, I think you have a higher image of myself, because the making people laugh is an offshoot of the main goal, which is being honest with myself. Being honest with myself in this case means I have an idea, I make it happen. In this case is I put on the beard and the hat and I shoot the video, right? Which are improvised fully, by the way. That's the main goal. If someone laughs because of that or finds it funny, great. But I cannot rely on that, because no one knows me, right? I'm not the epitome of popular. So I have to focus on that, air quotes, selfish goal, which is, okay, keep that pact going and just be honest with yourself.
Yeah, nice. Like you say, it's there's a I noticed through doing the YouTube and the podcast, and just for other things, but like you get it when you have a conversation with a person. Sometimes we have so much internal, let's call it conversation, talk, voices, whatever. There's so much going on, and there's a totally different element of life that comes in when you actually vocalize it and you put that sound out. So even sometimes just getting it out changes things drastically, no matter what you get out, because it's already within you.
Yeah, that process can be in a secondary way therapeutic as well, and I think that's this, like many, right? But I think that's the value of like psychotherapy. It's you retelling the story, you listening to your own story again and trying to find details and stuff. I think that process in itself can be healing.
Yeah.
But I talk from my experience as a patient for 9 years, right? But like you say, putting it out there is much better than just leaving it dancing around your mind.
No, definitely. And like when you're talking about the self-love, like I said, that was a big part of my journey, and what gave me stability so I started like self-love practices and stuff to build myself up. And it wasn't until I built into the unconditional self-love that I got stability. Before that, it was a daily hard task that I kept going up and down and up and down and up and down. And but I share that I recommend you check my YouTube channel out and just type in like Lukegreenheart self-love or unconditional self-love. And yeah, if that's still part of your journey, maybe there'll be some bits in there that you would find really informative for your process.
And I'm also
now like it's not a daily struggle at all. It's like, and it's shocking to say because it was really hard.
But it's a different life. I mean, you were reborn, literally, and you sound like that has happened, and you emanate vibes that resonate with what you're saying. Because some people might just be paying lip service to something they want to achieve, right? But you, as far as I can feel, you embody what you're saying, right? You can tell that, okay, this guy or this chap has reached this good plateau of stability, right? I mean, you're not just words. And of course, I'm going to check your YouTube channel. I'm bound to do that after complaining how people don't check.
You're obligated now to comment, to like.
I dug my own
YouTube grave.
Pit. Yeah, the grave.
No, it's been really nice chatting to you. We're getting to the end of the show, and no, I'm really glad. And I'm looking forward. I'm gonna do the same. By the way, I'm gonna go check your channel out, and you're at least gonna get a comment and a thumbs up. You know, as it come up.
Yeah.
And check. And if you ever do something more controversial, because I know YouTube can be a little bit hard depending on what you say and what you're going to say. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's one called Library, LRBY.com, or it's an app, and it's odyssey.com online. But that's like a good platform if you want to just freely express yourself and have ultimate freedom.
I'll ask for the link. When I send you my links and you send me yours, you can send me this, because it would be an honor to be censored, right? But because I don't get a lot of views, I think I'm flying under the radar. But
if you started to suddenly...
If I do, I'm surely gonna be just sent the fuck away, because there's some stuff I say that the politically correct gods would certainly not agree.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, send all the links you think are great, and you'll get comments from me, this chap, and the apprentices as well.
I wonder if I get some inappropriate comments.
No.
Well, no,
He's
like
civil
humor.
He knows when, how, and with whom. I mean,
okay.
He's educated. Nice. Don't worry.
Okay, I won't worry. So yeah, I just got a few fun short questions. These are pretty much one answer questions, so you can elaborate if you want, but yeah, they're one answer. So the first question is, if you had to choose one, cat or a dog?
That's tricky. Okay, there's a caveat. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to be quick, but if I had a huge property, certainly dogs, because I don't like cleaning up after dogs. I mean, I hardly do it after myself. A dog is like, I would rather have a baby than a dog, right? But because that's not the case, I would go with the cat that I have, actually, which has a dog-type personality. It's a Maine Coon cats. They are like dogs in the body of a cat. So that's my answer.
Okay, so you'd have a dog in the body of a cat. It's the first time anyone said that. Nice. What's your favorite color?
Green. And it's not because of you, Luke, but green it is.
Nice. And what would you say in the simplest form? What excites you, motivates you, and inspires you?
Well,
what comes to mind first? What made you laugh?
Creativity, creating things.
Right. And what does the opposite? What shuts you down?
Lack of humor and just mind flexibility.
Nice. And what sound or noise do you love?
The sound of the coffee grinder that's preparing my coffee. Yeah, that's beautiful. And crickets. Sorry, I miss crickets. Crickets are
well, you don't really get it in England, do you?
No, man. And I love crickets.
Crickets. We get crickets here. The season hasn't quite started yet for them to be noisy, but yeah, we get a lot of them here.
Yeah, beautiful.
And what sound or noise do you not love so much?
What sound of noise I don't like so much? When the postman arrives and he's any delivery guy, and he's so fucking in a rush, that knocks, rings the bell, and then does that tap on the letterbox thing. The tap on the letterbox thing makes me want to kill. Yeah.
Nice. And what do you love about yourself?
I'm not going to go like the predictable road of I hate myself. No. What I like about myself, what I love probably the most is my sense of humor.
Nice. And what do you love to see in other people?
The willingness to grow.
Nice. And the very last question, what do you love about animals? This can be pets or animals in nature, whatever you think of first when you think of animals.
Well, I love this about my cats. When they don't want to be pet, they just walk the fuck away. No, don't bother. And I try to chase them, and I cannot catch them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
They said there's an authenticity in there. They're just going to be honest to you.
Yeah, it's like the fuck it motto, right? No, not now. Sorry.
Nice, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and hearing more about you. And I'm going to be sure, like, email me all your links, and I'll make sure they're all in the description so people can come and find you and check out a little bit more about what you're up to. And yeah, hit that like button and comment on your videos. Show some support and some love.
Thank you, man. Thank you for inviting me. It's a beautiful conversation and just sharing this space with you.
Yeah, just one thing about this time, it's easy to connect and share if you've got the internet and a phone, basically, which most people have.
And the willingness to do it, because you have to open yourself up.
Yeah, got open and flow.
Exactly.
It's been beautiful to chat to you.
Thank you, Luke. Take care and keep on growing, please.
You too, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much for being here and listening to the Selfish Podcast. I'm your host, Lukegreenheart, and I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel. Just search Lukegreenheart on YouTube. You'll find me. Check out my website, Lukegreenheart.com. Have an amazing day, and stay tuned for more episodes. I'll be interviewing guests on their path of self-development, their paths to self, getting to know them in much more intimacy, much more depth, sharing and connecting with all so we can have a much more blissful, joyful, and productive life together. All right, much love. Have a great day.